and that's blocked by Turner.
Shot clock down to 4. Heller in a deep 3, and he drills it.
Arias finds Warren. Here's a long 3. Was in, now Duane, another 3.
And welcome everybody to episode 4 of the Pacing Forward podcast. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you came here from last week, appreciate you sticking around. If this is your first episode, again, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you stick around. We do this every single week, at least for the basketball season. I don't know how much we're gonna do this in the off season, but we do this every week so far. We've been going strong for 4 weeks, which is basically a month. First, I'd like to address the elephant in the room. This episode is coming out on a Monday afternoon, which is divergent to what we usually do, posting on a Sunday afternoon. The reason for that is because we had some prior entanglements. Our guests had to do some moving, and of course, Dom and I had some other things to do. So we decided to scrap yesterday's recording and just do it today, upload it Monday. So by the time you're listening to this, it is currently It is Monday afternoon. And who knows, maybe this will be better because we had some pretty good games today, not including the Pacers, but probably would have interfered in our views. But that's neither here nor there. I am, of course, Cammy, the house that Cammy built on Twitter. I'm joined by my guest, but I'm joined by my co-host, as always.
What's up, everybody? This is Dom.
And we have our special guest coming in.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian. You can also find me on Twitter at BullsEra22.
Yes, sir. And the reason why we have Brian here is because this is the draft episode of the podcast. We've got over the past month or so, for however long we've done the podcast, we've gotten multiple questions asking about who we want to draft, who we want us to trade for, this, that, and we don't really know that much about the draft, Dom and I, so we decided to have our guest come on. Of course, Brian knows a lot about the draft, a lot about prospects coming in. And, of course, with March Madness starting up recently, now is a better time than ever to talk about the draft. I mean, we got players' draft stocks possibly rising, falling. We'll see what happens. But and, of course, with Indiana staying around that pick 5 range, they're definitely going to be in the mix for one of those top 4, top 5 guys. But let's just before any of that, we got to, of course, recap the week. And the first game we had was Sunday against the Wizards.
So Sunday's Wizards game was a win or a loss?
It was a loss. We lost by 10.
It was a loss. It was Porzingis' debut game.
Yes.
Of course, it was against us. He had like 17 points or so.
25 actually.
So he was pretty good. 25.
Yeah.
He was at 17 when I was watching.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead, Cammy.
Yeah. But with the Wizards game, of course we had Brogdon, 27-4-4. The guy's been pretty consistent ever since he came back from injury, where of course he is hurt again with the concussion, so we don't know when he's going to come back. I have some thoughts about that later on. We had Tyrese with an off-scoring night, 15 points, but he held up his end with 7 rebounds and 11 assists, I believe.
And then we also had one person that we like not to address because we want to believe that right now what's going on right now is a fluke. But Shaper set 2 for 9 shooting.
Yeah.
And only 8 points. It kind of makes you wonder. When will he get out of this poor shooting streak?
Yeah.
And last night's game against the Spurs, he wasn't terrible. Obviously.
Yeah.
But you just want more from him.
Yeah, exactly. And with O'Shea being a guy that burst onto the scene last year, played fantastic at the end of the season, helped us get into the play-in tournament. Of course, we lost in the play-in tournament, but O'Shea Brissett was fantastic last season, and with him only being 23 years old, 24 later this year, he's a guy that you would ideally want to keep on for the rebuild because he is young. He's got a pretty good skill set, good defender, good shooter, good finisher. So he's one of those guys that you want to stay on the team. But ever since that Celtics game where he had 27 points, he's played 6 games since then, and he's averaged 7 points, 28% from the field, 28% from 3. His defense has been solid, but offensively he hasn't been able to hit. He hasn't been able to hit anything.
And we know that as long as he has good games, you just have to keep it in the back of your head that he can be consistently like I would say he could definitely be a consistent double digit scorer, maybe not in the 20s, but having those games where he did play like he did, it just puts it in the back of your mind that he'll eventually get out of this shooting slump, and he will start playing more consistently.
Yeah, because then, I mean, ever since the Sabonis trade leading up to that Celtics game, he was averaging 16 points, 44% from the field, 37% from 3, 9 rebounds. So he has been before these last set of games, he's been fantastic with Sabonis not on the team anymore, and him playing more small forward, power forward. The guy's been good.
Next game of the week was against the Cavaliers, and one thing I do want to bring up is since the All-Star break, the Pacers are averaging 118 points per game.
Yes.
So in this game it ended. Obviously, we lost. It was a 127-124 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a game that Darius Garland couldn't be stopped in the second half of the game. But just 18 points, it just tells you that the Pacers can legitimately score with some of the better teams in this league.
Yes. And even with Garland going off for 41 points, Larry Markkinen having 21, Evan Mobley 22 points, we still managed to keep up with them. 127-124 was the final score, and we battled with them at the end of that game with Tyrese Halliburton having one of his better performances, 25 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. And everybody else chipping in. Duane Washington with 15, Malcolm with 12, Isaiah Jackson being solid as usual.
And one name that you did bring up, Duane Washington.
Yep.
He has had himself a week, if I pull up these stats. I'm pretty sure he's averaging in the high 15s or so since the Wizards game to start the week off.
Yes.
Let me see. So against the Wizards, he had against the Wizards, he had 11 points. And then Cleveland, he had 15 points. And then against San Antonio, he had 19
Yeah, that game was last night.
Not only on the he's shooting the ball really well. 3 for 4 shooting last night, 2 for 4 shooting the night before that, and then 3 for 4
from 3
against the Wizards. So he's playing really good, and he's been one of our better defensive players.
Yes,
and,
he has better perimeter defensive
him
players.
And Kiefer Sykes. Him and Kiefer Sykes were those we brought them from up. I don't even know where we got them from. I just remember they randomly appeared on our team and they started playing, and I was like, and him and Kiefer Sykes were both dominating, but I didn't know if it would really translate, because Kiefer Sykes' play hasn't really translated to having a fully healthy team.
But
Duane Washington is finding good minutes.
Yeah, Kiefer Sykes is decent. He's but the problem with Kiefer Sykes is that he is 28 years old, and with a guy that old on a rebuilding team like the Indiana Pacers, it makes you think did this guy really have that much of a future on this team? He is a rookie, but he's on the older side, and while he had some pretty good games to start off the season, including that win against Golden State, he had some really nice shots. But, the guy's 28 years old. He's only 5'11", 6 feet tall. So, does he have that much of a future left on this team? We don't know. And I personally, I don't think so. Really.
Yeah. Good offensive player. Honestly, I would say he's a little bit of a defensive liability, being 5'11", not really being super aware on defense. I mean, he gives you okay backup point guard minutes, even though you have Tyrese Halliburton. You want him to play most of those minutes anyways. And we do have a very guard heavy lineup. Speaking of guard heavy lineups, we got our boy Chris Duarte back last game.
Yeah. Very happy to see Chris Duarte back and balling for the team. I mean, the guy's been pretty up and down recently, but in last night's game against the Spurs, Duarte had 15 points, 8 rebounds, so maybe he'll find his groove again. Of course, Duarte is on the older side, as we've said before, but he definitely has some potential because he didn't start playing basketball until a few years ago, so he could definitely blossom.
And Duarte is just one of those players where it's like, he could. I mean, Cam Johnson, he was obviously an older rookie when he came into the league, but he did definitely develop. I mean, he's developed into a very solid 3D player.
Yes,
and he's one of the better players on the Phoenix Suns right now. So I'm looking for like that Cam Johnson type of development where he doesn't necessarily take like a jump into like all-stardom, but he just like hones all of his skills and he gets very solid at what he does. Maybe he becomes a better 3-ball shooter. Maybe he becomes a better inside scorer or whatnot. I just want to see him hone his skills necessarily.
Yes, and I think he does have some room to grow. But talking about the other guys, a big surprise in the past week or so is Goga Bitadze, who has he has turned his play around in the past week or so. Let me bring up these stats real quick. BasketballReference.com.
While you do that, just shout out to Goga, because I mean we give the dude a lot of shit for how he plays, but he's been one of our better players off the bench.
This past week, yeah. I mean, if we look at the stats recently, barring that Orlando game where he didn't score at all, but he only played 2 minutes. Talking about the past 3 games, Washington, Cleveland, and San Antonio, the guy's been averaging a cool 15 points, 7 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks a game on 65% from the field and 50% from 3. So this is exactly what we've said Goga is capable of. And I know we've shat on Goga a lot in the past, but the guy is capable of having these good games. It's just that we want to see more of those, with the guy being with him being how old? With him being 22 years old and him being drafted 3 years ago. This is his 3rd season in the NBA. He was drafted in 2019, pick 18. With him being a questionable pick from the jump, where not a lot of people knew who he was. Of course, I think we only knew him for that picture he had next to Zion, if you remember that.
Yeah, where he's talking to the reporters and they're all like crowded around Zion.
Yeah, they're all next to Zion. Nobody's around him. Yeah.
That just speaks, you can't be mad at that. I mean, he was right outside the lottery, obviously in terms of as a pick. So
yeah, right. And I mean, with Goga, I've said before that I don't know what type of future this guy has in at least in Indiana. I don't think we're gonna keep him on. If he shows this type of play for the rest of the season, or at least more frequently, then maybe he has a chance. But I don't know, man. We need to see this more often from him, because time is starting to run out for this guy. If he keeps this play up, then we can definitely there's definitely a spot on this team for Goga Bitadze, I think.
Yeah. And, I mean, again, more consistent play. If you can develop a little bit more defensive awareness, that'll be great, especially playing with all defensive, like Miles Turner, Jalen Smith, Isaiah Jackson. They're at least sub above average defenders. So, but Goga Bitadze, he's that one odd man out, and if you could get more more defense out of him, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Goga's a lost cause on defense. He's had some really nice defensive moments, and I think he's learned quite a bit from Miles Turner since he joined the league. I mean, he has a lot of miles. His abilities have rubbed off on him, but it's just that, where does he go from here? Because, of course, Goga's not a guy that's gonna lead your team in scoring or even lead your team in rebounds. He's a guy that's gonna primarily come off the bench and a guy that you need to get solid big man backup minutes out of. Because we know that Goga's not going to be a star anytime soon, so we just want solid backup big minutes from him. And with guys like Isaiah Jackson, Jalen Smith if he stays, Miles Turner because we don't know if he's going to get traded. We don't know where Goga fits in with that, if he has a spot on this team or not. Because honestly, he has a long ways to go before he's a consistently good NBA player. And speaking of guys that are in that backup big rotation, let's talk about Jalen Smith real quick.
I mean, same thing with Jalen Smith. I mean, he's had another really good week.
Fantastic.
I think if he was starting, I mean, him and Tyrese in the pick and roll. Him,
Tyrese, Isaiah Jackson have been fantastic in the pick and roll.
So yeah, like every pick and roll set that we run with Tyrese and our two young bigs has been pretty much money on most drives. So
exactly,
and he's been really solid lately. He's coming off the bench. I wish that he was starting. Rick Carlisle is still like experimenting with rotation. I feel like Jalen Smith and Isaiah Jackson work together well enough for them to both be starting. But at the same time, if he comes off the bench and he's still putting up the numbers that he's putting up, you can't be mad at it.
Yeah, and if I look at these stats right here, Jalen Smith, prior to getting traded to Indiana, of course he had that, he was with Phoenix before, a lot of DNPs, but with Phoenix, Jalen Smith only logged double-digit points. Jalen Smith only logged double-digit points a total of 7 times in the season. And 6 of those were in that stretch where he started with JaVale McGee and DeAndre Ayton out, but he only logged double-digit points 7 times in the season. And if we go down here to him playing in Indiana, he has logged double-digit points 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. He has logged double-digit points 10 times this season in Indiana alone. With he's only with Indiana, he's only played how many games? He's only played 12 games for Indiana. And prior to this season, prior to getting traded to Indiana with Phoenix, he played 29 games. He could only crack double digits in 7 of those games. So I've said this ever since Jalen got drafted in I think 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've said this ever since Jalen Smith got drafted. If he gets playing time, he's going to be really good because we saw that in Phoenix, and it's just been amplified in Indiana because the guy's finally getting consistent minutes. All of his minutes with Indiana have been in the 20s besides the Milwaukee game, and the guy's been more all you can ask for and then some. I just hope that he cools down a bit in the future so we have a chance of retaining him in free agency.
Yeah, maybe that's why Rick is making him come off the bench because he's trying to mask him a little bit from other teams.
Right, and I'm sure him and Kevin Pritchard have had this talk before, where you're gonna re-sign for however much you can re-sign for Indiana, around I think it's $4.7 million. But when free agency hits next season and your contract expires again, at that point it's name your price, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead. I think it's time to bring up our guest to transition into our March Madness state. Some March Madness standings, or Ryan knows what it is. They just got released not too long ago. So we have the stage is set for the March Madness tournament. And Brian, you want to start talking about some rookies?
Yeah, man. This week I was tasked with looking at some of the guys that, Indiana could look at, especially during March Madness, and especially being around the 5th pick. But, some of the guys that I've highlighted really like as a pick for the Pacers potentially is Jaden Ivey is the first guy. I think at this point, it's a little bit of a stretch if they stay at the 5th pick just because of how good Ivy's even looked this season.
Yeah.
But, if the Pacers move up in the standings, I don't see how they avoid picking him. He's just that good, man.
Yeah, Jaden Ivey, man, he's been fantastic. This, especially like yesterday, he had that fantastic game with Purdue, and of course they're making the March Madness. He's been fantastic. I'm pretty sure they just beat. Who did they just beat?
Michigan State.
Yeah, they just beat Michigan State, right?
And he looked phenomenal last night. So just driving that draft stock up even more, man. It's gonna be fun for him on draft night, I think.
Yeah, because he's definitely, I think he's cemented his spot as a top 5 pick. It's just at this point, it's like, where is he gonna go in that top 5?
Yeah. I think he still has a bit of competition with Chet and Paulo, but I mean, I don't see how he's not a top 3 pick at least. You know?
Yeah.
I definitely think like the top 5 is like including. Well, fact check me on this. I think everybody has like at least the top 4 or 5 is like Jabari, Paulo, Chet, and Ivy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty much the consistent top 4 at this point. The 5th is it's about a 3-way tie a lot among people who pay attention to the draft at this point, which is actually the next guy I was looking at for you guys, which was AJ Griffin Jr.
Right.
Out of Duke. He's a wing, 6'6". If he's gonna get consistent time and consistent minutes in a consistent rotation, he's gonna be lights out, knockdown, shooting threat, and a really good guard. Can guard well. He can guard 1 through 4. He can shut down plays. He can, he knows his own strengths, knows his own abilities, and to that me, like that's just something that in this class isn't like consistent. And
really?
There's a lot of guys that know their own strengths and know their own abilities this year, but like AJ knows his own play and can play to that super well. So any team I think is going to be who's lucky enough to draft him is going to be extremely impressed with him, extremely happy that they got him. Now there's health concerns, consistency concerns. He's had some knee troubles since high school, had some knee troubles earlier this year. But I don't think it should hinder him too much going into the future. It's something that obviously you want to keep your eye on as a scout or anyone who pays attention to it. But I mean, he's going to be a solid catch and shoot and 3 guy. He's going to play super well. He can fit seamlessly with Tyrese and Duarte without taking away too many touches from anyone, and that's just envisioning with the Pacers. I mean, he already shoots pretty consistently. But if you give him, say, Buddy Hield, imagining the Pacers keep him this offseason, under him, he could flourish well because AJ doesn't seem super confident in his own play sometimes, so it hinders his ability. So if you put him under Buddy Hield or with Hield, I imagine that's gonna be a perfect situation for him. You know what I mean?
Yes. Right.
So, but that's just another guy. The last guy for this lottery pick that the Pacers have that I was looking at was Tari Eason.
Yes.
He to me is a bit of an under the radar wing for especially the lottery. He's a sophomore and he's only 6'8" for a power forward, but his skills on the defensive end and even shooting are phenomenal. I would say that he's better than Keegan Murray. As much as press as Keegan Murray gets, Tari Eason is basically a Herb Jones archetype for this class. Mm-hmm. You take Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, and that's Tari Eason.
Really? Okay.
So
okay.
yeah, he's a lockdown defender. Lockdown defender. You know, he's just he would be such a great fit, especially if like the Pacers want to keep Miles for a while.
Right.
Like he can sit next to him and not ruin like Miles' game, basically.
Right. Okay. And there are a couple other guys that I wanted to bring up to your attention. Of course, guys that you didn't mention. Couple guys here. Let me pull them up. Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin. What do you think of him?
I think he's a really good prospect. He's a really good ball handler. He's got a really nice shot. He's got a really nice shot form. You know, he's a consistent shooter and very consistent operator on the offensive end. Basically, like he's for sure like a top guard in this class.
Right.
I think, and I'd like him in Indiana. I think it wouldn't be a terrible pick, but at the same time, like you already have Tyrese, and I don't think you should really draft Davis to be the 2 and putting him at the backup. Just no. Like it just feels like a waste of a pick.
Yeah, because we need a guy in this draft. We need a guy that can slot in next to Duarte and Tyrese and be that another like star-like potential guy.
Yeah. And I think you can look at like a potential backup point guard later on, especially with the 2 other picks you have, if you keep them, which is something that I want to get into when we get to the Cleveland pick.
Right.
But yeah. So who are some other prospects that we're looking at?
Another guy I wanted to look at is a guy that we don't even know if he's going to declare or not, but Shaden Sharp out of Kentucky.
I wanted to talk about him and bring him up, but outside of some of his high school tape, I can't say I know a lot about him. But I know that he is like a phenom and he's like super phenomenal.
Right.
But yeah, I can't speak much on him. I wish I could, but I just know that he looks fantastic and like the talk around him is that he's fantastic. But yeah.
Right. Has he not played?
No, he has not played this season.
Why is that?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think it's either injury concerns or that he just didn't I think it was either mental or injury concerns. I don't know the full details of it. Until his name was thrown around that he could declare this year, I really wasn't paying attention to him.
Right.
So I can't fully confidently speak on him in any manner, but yeah.
Really? Okay. So he's more of a mystery to you than anyone else in the draft.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
there's a couple other guys like Patrick Baldwin Jr. that has a big question mark, but
right.
I mean, other than that, yeah.
Okay, another guy I wanted to bring up to your attention. This is if we trade Miles, Jalen Duren.
Yes. To me, he is probably the second best center in this class.
Really?
I mean, yeah. Even if you keep Miles this season up until the trade deadline, he could slot in and bridge the gap between wanting to get rid of Miles and him starting. I think his role in Memphis has kind of been squandered because they have a lot of phenomenal talent. They don't have a cohesive roster.
Right.
There just isn't enough guys that are passing to Duren specifically, or getting him open looks. So his stats and his numbers don't look great, but his play is phenomenal. I mean, he's a super upside rim protector, super versatile shooter. He isn't going to get outside the arc right now, but he can get pretty deep on his mid range and hit shots pretty consistently. So
right.
If you wanted to use the 5th pick on him, I don't see a problem with it.
Right. Okay. And now that we're talking about who to get with the 5th pick, who are some guys you think we should avoid?
Keegan Murray.
Really? Right off the bat.
Yeah. Not just strictly because of draft age, because by the time the draft rolls around, he's going to be about 22. Yeah.
I mean, I think Dom can attest to this. We don't want another old rookie.
We don't hate our old rookie. We obviously don't hate our old rookie currently. But we can't. When we did draft Chris Duarte, we were like afraid that he wouldn't be good and he would just be some 24-year-old that wouldn't really be anything.
Exactly. Like I'm not against the idea of drafting old guys, but I don't think I can take another one.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're basically looking at Julius Randle, but a better shot. Like more confident shooter. So, really? Yeah. And I mean, I don't hate Keegan Murray. I really don't. But I don't see the hype. Like, I've watched him play as this season, and it's just not something that, like, he's just not someone that I see, like, as being a game changer.
Right.
Or going forward. Like, say, if, OKC wanted to use, like, the 15th pick on him, or the Clippers pick on him, like, that's fair, because, like, they need help there. But, using, like, a top 5 to 10 pick on him, I don't really know.
You don't see the vision on that.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't see a clear vision on it right now.
Okay, got it. And now that we're done with the fifth pick, or around the fifth pick, let's get to the Cavs pick, which, if I may say something for a second, right now the Cleveland Cavaliers have been on quite a bit of a slump recently. Let me pull up the stats. The Cleveland Cavaliers have they just lost yesterday to the Bulls, and they've been losing. They lost to the Pacers, the Heat, the Raptors, the Sixers, the Hornets, the Timberwolves. They've been losing a lot of games recently, and of course, with the Indiana pick, with the Cleveland pick that belongs to Indiana, with that pick being lottery protected, if if Cleveland slips to that 7th seed, and they have to play, because the rest of their games, I believe Jarrett Allen is going to be out for quite a bit of them. One of their best players. But if they slip to that 7th seed, they have to face, assuming nothing that much changes, they have to face Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets in the play-in, and that can't be good for Cleveland or for Indiana. Because if they lose in the play-in, they fall out of the playoffs and they get their lottery pick back, which we do not want, because that essentially means we traded Karis LeVert for cap space.
Which sucks.
Yeah. But say we do keep that pick. What do you think? What do you think happens with that pick, Brian?
The number one guy that I'm really looking at with that pick is Iverson Molinar. He's a guard out of Mississippi State.
Really? Okay. I've heard you talk about this guy before. What's up with him?
To me, he is one of the most under the radar guys in this class. Like, he has the speed, he has the shot, he has defense. And I know, like, people don't like to, praise guard defense, but to me, like, that's one of his strong suits, and I really like him for that.
Yes, the stigma around guard defense is really peculiar, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's a whole different subject for a different day, obviously.
Yeah. That might be for a future episode. I don't know.
But he has the smoothest handle in this class. He, like I said, best speed. And if you're drafting him for a backup point guard, like, I don't see the issue with that. Like,
okay,
I don't.
Okay.
Like, I think he could, for like a certain team, like, be a starting point guard or like a starting shooting guard. But like, for Indiana, like, him in the backup role, really, I don't see being a problem. Like, he would fit there seamlessly.
Right.
And
So this is one of the guys that you said if we want to go for a backup point guard, this is who we should try to get.
Yes,
Oh.
him, or I would say looking at, probably J.D. Davidson or Matteo Spagnolo are both, good guys, but I would prefer Molinar over both of them.
Okay.
In my personal opinion.
Okay.
But yeah, I think Davidson or Spagnolo are two names that you can throw in there as well. Probably Davidson more than Spagnolo. Spagnolo probably more towards the Houston pick.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other guys other than Iverson Molinar?
Yeah, there was a couple other guys that I was looking at. Probably Bryce McGowan. He's a wing out of Nebraska. He can shoot. He's going to be a shooter at the next level. And he moves super smoothly on the court, like especially for being 6'7". Like he moves quite well. He's crafty. But I think a thing is he needs to hone his skills a bit more if he does enter the draft this year. So he'll probably be spending a little bit of time in the G League. More than he will. Yeah, more than he will in the rotation, especially for like Rick Carlisle.
Right. Right.
And
because
how he treats certain young guys.
Yeah, because I know Rick Carlisle isn't the most lenient when it comes to younger rookies.
Yeah. We saw that early enough with Isaiah Jackson.
Yes. Very much so.
But I think he would be a really good guy to pick and sit with at the 21st pick, or whatever that lands at. So he's the guy that I really like there. And then another guy that I really like is Jeremy Sokan.
Yeah, I think this is the guy that you said you would only put a player comparison to this guy.
I think it was Molinar.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Molinar is like the only guy. Going back to him real quick, is like the only guy that I would ever give a comp to, which is like probably Fox or DeJounte Murray as like his ceiling.
A guy like that with that a non-lottery pick, damn.
Yeah, man. Like I said, he's got that speed, he's got the defense, he's got the shot. So I mean, that's where I put him.
All right. And now that we're talking about comps, I think you told me this before. Tell me why you don't like to put comps on prospects, please.
To me, comps are just way to like put like an idea on a player, but they're so often wrong and so often like misleading that like you're just going to be disappointed in the player when they don't meet that comp. So like you're just going to have people saying that they suck. Like So I mean, I just personally don't think comps are anything that should be taken seriously, or should be used to evaluate players overall.
Yes.
So that's there's more details to it, but that's just kind of the gist of why I don't like comps.
Right. And of course, we knew about terrible comps before with Lonzo Ball. Of course, I know you remember all of the stuff that happened around 2017 when the hype around this guy was at its highest.
Steph Curry with a 40-inch vertical.
Right. Of course, you can forget that. And a lot of it rubbed off on LaMelo as well, because he was getting ridiculous comparisons as well.
Oh yeah, he was getting some Steph Curry comps too, which never made
I really
any sense
don't
to
understand why he was getting Steph Curry comparisons. I mean, he hit a half court shot once, sure, but if you look at how he was shooting in Australia, his shot was broken over there.
Oh yeah. And his shot still isn't great right now. It's obviously something that he's going to work on, improve on as he goes.
Yes.
But I mean, like that's just a prime example of why comps are stupid.
Yes. All right, and the third guy you put for our Cavs pick is
Jeremy Sokan. He's a wing out of Baylor. He's 6'9". He's a freshman. To me, he's like, he has so much potential and upside. He's versatile. He can, shoot from anywhere. Like he's gonna be like a very upside guy in this class. But he's another guy that I think just needs a little more time to hone his skills. Right. So he's another guy that, like, if he's spending time in the G League, I wouldn't be super surprised. But he's still a guy that, like, taking with the 21st pick, like, you're probably not going to be disappointed at the end of the year, at the end of his, rookie year with what he's given you.
Right.
Like, yeah, but overall, I think he would be a really good pick there. So yeah.
Right, and I think you brought this up earlier, the prospect of trading that pick. What do you think about that?
I don't think it would be too bad of an idea to trade the pick. Because, in my opinion, once you get outside of, deeper into this class, like, a lot of guys you're going to find need to, finish working on some skills or, spending a lot of more time developing than anything else.
And I think that gets more prevalent when we get to the Houston pick.
Yeah, that's going to get a lot more prevalent down later, obviously, with the Houston pick. But like, I just think a lot of players have question marks still. So, trading out of that pick this year probably isn't a bad idea. It would suck because if it's just for cap space that you ultimately got that pick.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you could trade it for a pick next year, which probably is going to be a hard bargain.
Yeah, because I know next year's class is going to be fantastic.
Dude, don't even get me started on it. It's going to be, man, next year's class is going to be super fun. I'm super excited for next year's class.
Right.
But trying to trade that pick, maybe not a terrible idea. Trying to keep it, also not a bad idea. Ultimately, whatever ends up happening with that pick isn't terrible, but weighing either option is fine.
Mm-hmm. And while we're at the subject of that pick, what do you think of the LeVert trade as a whole? Because we've gotten some pretty mixed opinions on it.
Honestly, I think it was a smart move, especially for trying to rebuild. Because I don't think if you don't move LeVert, you're gonna see the domino of Sabonis actually getting dealt. I think I think that's what ultimately, like, pushed them to finally make the Sabonis trade and get.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that if you don't move LeVert, then it doesn't send a message that all right, we're trying to rebuild. Let's get this started.
Yeah, so I think it was the smart move.
Right. Okay. And so going by that Cavs pick, you think the most NBA ready guy on that board is Iverson Molinar, correct?
For that pick, yeah.
Okay. And I don't know what what you have in store for the Rockets pick, but please, by all means, go ahead.
The number one guy looking there is probably Trevor Keels. He's another wing. He's out of Duke. He's a freshman. He's a confident shooter. Not great, but he's confident.
Oh God. That does not sound good. I've heard that before.
I think he averages about, if I can pull it up here, there it is. He averages 5 attempts a game, so and he's only making 1.6. So, Jesus. Like I said, he's confident, but he's not consistent. So,
damn.
He's gonna need time to hone his skills and become respectable and serviceable in a rotation.
Yes.
So that doesn't make me confident that he's actually gonna enter the draft this year.
Mm-hmm.
But even if he does, I think getting him at that pick to try to fill in the holes at wing and at the shooting guard position where the Pacers bench depth is at there, like putting him there wouldn't be terrible. Because isn't it filled out with like Kiefer Skies and
Sykes.
Duane Sykes? I always mispronounce it. But like filling him in there, I mean, really isn't a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I understand where you're coming with that. Okay. Do you have anyone else for that pick? Because I can't imagine you do.
No, not really.
Yeah, it makes sense. Sense. That pick's kind of a big question mark.
Yeah, right. More than anything, yeah.
Yeah, true. All right, well, now that that's done with, let's get into one of our flagship segments of this show. Question time, Dom.
So we ask you guys every week to provide us with questions, and every week you continue to deliver.
Yes. So
obviously this week we got some really good questions from you guys. So
all right.
Our first question comes from our good friend Ali. He asked most underrated ability of Tyrese Halliburton and reasons for O'Shea's poor play recently.
All right.
So to answer that first question, I think we talk about it all the time. I think Halliburton has definitely been benefiting from being around TJ McConnell and actually being with him in like practice and stuff, because his defense has looked pretty solid. And if you ignore him getting absolutely cooked by Darius Garland,
nobody could have stopped Garland that night.
Yeah, it wasn't. If you really go back and look at that game, it was mostly Garland cooking our like bigs. So like Jalen Smith, he would get him on a switch and he would just like blow past him. Every play. But Tyrese Halliburton's defense has been pretty solid for a guy who was not the greatest defender last year. His steals are up. He's getting into passing lanes. He's being quick. He has quick hands. So I think that's one of the more underrated. everybody knows he's a solid scorer. He's a good shooter,
phenomenal playmaker.
And he's obviously a phenomenal playmaker. But that defense has just been something that I've really looked at.
Something that we've looked at as a big positive. And going to the next one, we talk about reasons for O'Shea's poor play. I can't really give you a reason. I guess if I had to give you a couple, it would be going through the motions. Maybe maybe it's law of averages. The guy's got to come back down to earth at some point, because he had that amazing game against the Celtics and he's been kind of downhill ever since. But I really can't tell you why the guy hasn't been playing that great. Maybe it's because inconsistencies with his role, but I don't know. Hopefully he comes out. I think we talked about this earlier in the episode. The guy, it's just been a mystery. And
again, we know he's gonna figure it out eventually. But there's really no one thing to pinpoint why he's been so bad recently.
All right, last question that he brings up is a pretty puzzling one for me. Most underrated aspect of basketball in general. I really don't know, so I'm gonna give this to Brian. Let's see what he has to say.
That's such a broad question.
Yeah, it is.
I don't really know how to answer that. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Most underrated aspect of basketball in general.
Yeah, I can't really point a finger to what I think it is.
The most underrated aspect of basketball is the fans.
Yeah,
actually,
I'll go with that.
If you think about it, instead of like actual like basketball games, I don't know about basketball skill. Because everything is needed in terms of basketball skill.
Yes.
But if you're talking about basketball as a culture, you need fans. You need fans to not only be a good team, because you don't want to play for a bad fan base, but you also need fans to they vote for players during the All-Star break, even if we might not like the voting. They fill players with a sense of purpose to actually play the game that they want to play.
Yeah.
So I think fans can definitely attribute to being the most underrated.
I'll go with that too. I think the fans are a very underrated aspect of the game. Let's continue on. This next one is from RK. Cade's back. He asks, what have been Halliburton's biggest strengths and biggest areas for improvement since he's been a Pacer? I'll start off with this because I know, Dom, you got a lot to say, so I'll start off. I'm going to say his biggest strengths have really been his shooting and his playmaking, as always, because we knew when we picked the guy up, he's going to be a good shooter, good playmaker, but he's been phenomenal with passing and with his his court vision and everything like that. He's been second to none really on that team. And I think we've said before, he could very well be the best playmaker in Pacers history when it's all said and done. I think I said that before to you, didn't I?
Yeah, I mean, we really don't have a lot of playmaking history.
Mark Jackson,
Sabonis is obviously Sabonis is definitely up there in terms of Pacers playmakers. But Tyrese Halliburton, he's already shown that he can. I think he can be like a top 10, top 5-ish playmaker come next season.
Yes, fantastic. Yes,
but
absolutely.
he's already shown you that he's one of the better playmakers in the league. And with this roster that's not supposed to, we don't expect it. We talked about it earlier. We don't expect us to be averaging 118 points. Since the All-Star break, but it's actually evident, and that's insane.
Offensively, yeah, we've been amazing. Defensively, could use some work, but that'll come eventually. And we're talking about his biggest areas of improvements. You texted me about this last night. Please tell me what you think, Dom.
You said what?
His biggest areas for improvement.
Ooh, biggest areas of improvement. I think you already know what it is. It's more consistent offense.
Yeah, he needs to be aggressive.
If he can. He had that 138-point game against Philly when he was still in Sacramento, like the last week of being on the team.
Yes.
So, he obviously has the potential to be one of the better scorers in the league. But, I think he's good. I think the defense is as good as, it can be, with his current build. But if he can develop more consistent offense and if he can score better and if he can be more aggressive, then I think that's one of the better places for him to improve on.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And I do like the Chris Paul comparison for Halliburton, but I need him to be a little bit more. I need him to be more willing to take that shot because, like it or not, he is going to be one of our better scorers going forward. And I do expect him to average around that 18, 19 points per game at least going forward. And for him to do that, for him to have that mentality, he needs to be less... I love that he's willing to pass, but he needs to be more willing to shoot when the time calls for it.
I just want to bring this up to Spike in the podcast real quick. I know this is a Pacers podcast, obviously, and we're more selective towards basketball. But as we're recording this, Tom Brady just unretired from.
Oh, really?
From football. So that's pretty interesting, huh?
Oh, really?
Sorry to break away in the segment, but Tom Brady is coming back for his 23rd season.
Oh my God! What? Oh, what?
That man is a troll.
Oh,
he basically just said, "I know you thought you got enough of Brady, but
oh my
is not
God!
Enough,
Wow." These past 3 months, I realized my place is still on the field. Oh my God! Wow.
He's gonna die on a football field.
He's the ultimate troll.
He's
like
42, insane
43
troll. Right, my God. And you know what? You know what? That just gives me a better indication that we did a good job not releasing the podcast on Sunday because we wouldn't have got any views at this rate.
Exactly.
Oh man. I did not know that. What the hell?
Yeah,
it just happened like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah. I just saw the tweet as you were talking about it. My God.
That man is such a troll.
Insane.
Oh my God, man.
That is insane, man. All right.
Man,
I can't really focus on it anymore, but let's continue. Next one is
next question is from our good friend Delano Dimes on Twitter. He says, "Is the Celtics rise over the past 2 months, does it put them in finals contention? Which is actually very funny because we just had, one of the reasons for not releasing the podcast today was because the big Celtics Mavs game was today.
Yes.
And it actually just ended before we started recording. And I mean, say what you will about that game. They played a hard-fought game against one of the Mavericks have been 24-8 since the All-Star break.
Yes.
So
since
they played a very good game against. Yeah, they played a very good game since they played a very good game tonight, and they've been really good recently. And
yes,
I know the scoring is definitely a question mark in the postseason because sometimes they still have that thing with scoring where it's like, okay, Tatum, you go take a shot, ISO, do what you will. I mean, Tatum is a much more improved playmaker, so
yes,
those ISO. I mean, he like that, like his ISOs are fine, but then you also have to think Jaylen Brown. You want more consistency out of him. He's been struggling as of recent, but you know what he can be. And yeah, I think that I don't know if they're finals contenders necessarily. I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the Western Conference Finals. The defense is gonna add up come playoff time, but the offense is just the only question mark.
Yeah, the offense is a question mark, and of course Tatum is great, but we'll see what happens with the rest of the team going forward. Jaylen Brown and them and everybody. And I think now that we're reaching 55 minutes, let's do a couple more questions. Next question is from Trey Mann. He says, I really like this question. He says, what player was most directly harmed by the organization's resistance to change?
Definite resistance to change.
This is a good question, by the way. A really good question.
That's such a solid question.
I mean, that's basically both of our both of our top two Pacers ever is Reggie Miller, Paul George. The front office not being able to acquire another, and this goes for Paul George,
especially with Paul George, especially
because we had the assets, we had the right, we had the chance to. Trade for Anthony Davis and PG. He gave them a go ahead. He was like, I think you guys should trade for Anthony Davis. And I think it'll make us a better team because of it. And the organization being a small market, they just didn't believe in the ability to keep him or to trade for him, and that ultimately led to PG leaving.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because that man Paul George, I disliked him for a while because I thought, why would he leave this team if he said he was going to stay? But looking at the state that team was in and how we basically had nobody else to carry the offensive load when Paul George was out, I don't blame the man at all for leaving. I would have done the same. Now, of course, for a guy like Victor Oladipo, where shout out to Oladipo for coming back, shout out to him. But it's a bit different. Where I think he had a good team around him, and I think we would have maybe done something if he stayed. But it's whatever with him. We're in a better place now anyway, and hopefully Oladipo can do good with Miami as at least a sixth man.
The ceiling of that team was, it was a really good team, but I didn't really believe in us making it to the finals with that team. Maybe with a developed Sabonis, it would have been different.
Yeah, maybe.
But a developed Sabonis only results.
I wanted to see what that duo did. I really wanted to see what that duo did, but
and even with that, a developed Sabonis really comes from having less, if we had Oladipo still as Oladipo, I don't think Sabonis would get the same touches to find his offense like he did.
I agree, but you look at what they did when Oladipo returned beginning of last season, and Sabonis was still Sabonis. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. All right, last question coming up on an hour is from John. He asks, reactions to Sixers' horrible performance last night. Well, this question was submitted on Friday. The Sixers played on Thursday, so it's time is a bit weird. But we're talking about the Sixers playing terribly. Against the Brooklyn Nets, of course. Yeah, that game was ugly.
Yeah, and they're currently struggling against the Orlando Magic right now. So you're kind of worried about. I mean, and we said it on the podcast. We think they're going to make it to the finals. But because of that game, we had to take a step back and we had to look at it from a standpoint of, can this team make it to the finals with the way the current offense is set? And I mean, the sky's the limit, really. But they have to come together and they have to be like, this is everybody's role. This is what you're going to do. We have to play more consistent. And if we can't, then we're not going to go as far as we want to go.
Yeah, exactly. Because I do think the ceiling for this team is a championship, but it could also be where they fizzle out, they have questions, they have problems with roles, and they could very well lose in the second round. And I don't think that's the case, but it could very well happen if chemistry messes up and people don't know their roles. And I think with a guy like Harden on the team, of course he is going to draw a lot of fouls, but when that shot isn't hitting and when those fouls aren't being called, then he really needs to step up on his playmaking game, and he needs to really take on a different role with this team. What do you think, Brian? We haven't gotten your input on this.
I don't really know. I don't really know what to say, man.
Well, thank you. I mean, you got no thoughts about the Sixers and what you think they can do?
I can't really speak on the Sixers because I've gotten too much troll. I've gotten trolled too many times by Sixers fans. So if I speak on them,
it's gonna be, it's gonna happen. All right, I understand you're wanting to stay silent. All right, I'll get that.
Yes.
All right, but all right, I guess we can do one more. All right, let's continue. Let's do one more. Next one is from Sam. He asks, early playoff predictions maybe, and teams who expect to overachieve and or underachieve. What do you think, Dom?
Teams I expect to overachieve. Let me look at the standings right now. Teams I expect the Nets to overachieve, although they are without Kyrie. If the Nets were with Kyrie and Kyrie was actually making a smart decision in getting the vaccine, I definitely could. I mean, right now they're at the 7-8 seed. I don't really see a world where they beat the Bucks. But if Kyrie was consistently playing, then I could definitely see them having a small, coming from the play into the finals. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I could see that. Honestly, with Ben Simmons coming back and him balling out, maybe.
And then another team.
Oh wait, hold on, Brian. Why are you saying?
Oh, go ahead.
I just don't see this Nets roster specifically overachieving. I just don't think they'll have enough cohesion. Not with Ben Simmons not coming back and Kyrie not being able to play full time. I don't see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. But what do you think this team can do in the playoffs?
I think they can get out of the play-in. I think they can force a game 7 in the first round, but I don't think they're gonna get past the first round if they do make it that far.
Really? You think it'll change next year?
I think next year there's a better opportunity, but I'm sticking to this year that they're not getting past the first round. Really? Unless KD wants to get past being efficiency man, I don't see it.
Yeah. Really? Okay. So you think unless we get a full Kevin Durant takeover, then it ain't gonna happen?
Yeah. I'm gonna stick to that too.
Okay. Well, who do you have winning the championship?
Either the Bucks or the Warriors this year.
The Warriors, really?
Yeah. I think the Warriors fully healthy in the playoffs this year are gonna be a little shocking.
Really? Okay.
So
surprising that I don't hear a Suns from you.
I think we're gonna see another choke job from CP3. So
really, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not too high on. I think the Suns are making the finals. But I don't know if they beat the Bucks.
Yeah. I mean, this might be a 2014 Spurs run from the Suns where they lost last year and now they're just pissed off. They're gonna go and they're gonna go bulldoze everyone this year. But we'll see what happens. I still have the Suns in the finals, and Brian, you have the Bucks and the Warriors, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, we didn't answer as many questions as we'd like to. And there are a couple other guys that I wanted to get into, but I don't think we have enough time for that right now. But I believe that's really all we have. We're reaching up on an hour 5 minutes. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I don't believe so.
I don't know. That's everything for me.
All right, great. And with that being said, we're gonna start and wrap this up. Thank you to Brian for being on the podcast this week. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, and of course, this is another time. Please plug wherever you want the people to find you at.
Oh yeah, again, you can find me on Twitter at BullsEra22.
All right, please. He had some mock drafts released. How long ago was that? A month ago?
Yeah, about working on getting out some more. So expect that.
Okay,
if you want to tune in.
Yeah, check those out. And I believe that's about it. We thank you. If you guys made it this far in the podcast, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you come back next week where we'll try to be a little bit more on time. Thank you to Brian as always. And from everybody here, you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week.